Screen share, we can get started here. One. Perfect. All right, yeah, we're up to 17. So we'll get started from here. All right, good evening, guys. Welcome to Sports Business Club for the first meeting of the semester. A little bit different that we're on Zoom from the past couple of years, but we're not, it's pretty normal for last semester. We're planning on doing all the meetings over Zoom this semester, same style. So we'll keep you posted on that. Before we get to Matt, I just have a couple of housekeeping items to get going with you guys. So first off, some of you probably haven't met me. I'm Soren Jensen. I'm the current president of the club. I've been in the club since freshman year. I'm in marketing and management here on campus, and I've been working with Iowa Wild, a little bit with athletics here. Also done some time with the Twins. So I'm really into the whole sports scene and really excited about that. As you guys have seen in most of the emails, there's no dues this semester. That will probably start back up next semester. It's just not really worth having you guys pay for Zoom meetings and not being able to come in. And usually we have pizza or different snacks from the meetings, so it's not really worth having you guys pay for that. And then as we're doing it right now, the meetings will be live, and we're also gonna be recording them. So they'll be posted somewhere after. We haven't determined exactly where yet. But if you're not able to attend it in person, you'll have access to a recording of it, which you'll be able to watch later on. I don't know if it's a limited time or if it'll be a permanent recording. We'll send out more information in the email for the next meeting. Another update, board positions will be opening this summer. We'll keep you open or update on that as well. We know there's a couple members on the board who are seniors that graduated in May. We're going to do a little bit of looking to see what positions we want to keep and what we're looking to expand. Our next meeting will be on March 10th with Jose Marujo. That's going to be at the same time, 7 p.m. So we'll send out more Zoom info on that. And if you have any questions during the presentation, we have a pretty good list so far, but if you have any more, you can just ask them in the comments or the Q&A button, and we'll get around to them towards the end of the meeting. I can answer for you guys. So that's all the housekeeping I have. So now we'll get started. So, actually one more thing. So if you guys haven't followed us on socials, please go follow us on the social medias. LinkedIn's really big this year. We're going to start using that a lot. We'll send this back out in an email for you as well. That is now all the housekeeping we have. So without further ado, we're welcoming tonight Matt Haberkamp, former alumni here at Iowa State University. He graduated here in 2015 with a bachelor's in fine arts with his emphasis in graphic design. So have an interesting story, not coming out of the business school, but how he's now working in sports. He started his career with the Green Bay Packers as the digital UX coordinator, worked there for about 5 years, and then in March of 2020, moved out to Seattle to start working with the Seahawks, where he is currently the digital platforms manager with the team. And so with that, Matt, you have the floor. I will stop sharing this so then you can share your screen if you would like. Here's all going.
It looks like you have participant sharing disabled.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Now?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Yep, there we go.
Cool. Can you guys, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it. I can see it on here, so we're all good. And I'll just mute, so in case there's any noise on the back end here, it'll be on you, and I'll unmute if I have anything to add in for you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. Like Soren said, I'm currently the digital platforms manager for the Seattle Seahawks. It's been a little bit of a strange year, obviously for everybody, but my wife and I just relocated to Seattle a month ago. So while I've been working for the Seahawks for a full year, I've only lived here for a month. I still don't know where anything is. So still trying to get used to all that stuff, but you know, it's been a good year for the team, for me joining them and what we're doing on the digital platforms, which I'll get into a little bit. But I can't see everybody on screen, so if you guys have questions or if I just ask for like a raise a hand, you can use that little button down below, and yeah, feel free to shoot questions over during, and we can certainly stop or we can answer them at the end, kind of however you want to do it, Soren. But kind of
Yeah, that works. If they come up, we can just go from there. If there's some that you want to answer it, then otherwise we will have time at the end to go through some else. So we can do that.
Awesome. Well, a little bit about me and about my draft profile. You know, I'm 6'4". I probably have the length and power to be a defensive end, but I don't catch the pass as well. So probably only make a blocking tight end at best.
I think, Matt, your screen, from what we're seeing right now, your screen is still on. It's like on a weird setup, and it's still on your intro slide. It's kind of like a black, like it has like both slides. It says next slide. I don't know if you're presenting it in a different way, but right now we're seeing like the main image we have up right now is just of your intro slide.
Wow, this is going well.
Is it on PowerPoint?
Yeah, does this work?
No, we're still on the same one. Is there, do you have like, but you have ones on the bottom that say 1 through 13. You can just click, can you click through those or you, there we go. Let's go back here. So yeah, right when I had it, it was like just like one, it was like a small box and an even smaller box. So
does this work?
it says you've started sharing screen. Let's see, that's all it says right now. I can see if there's anything on my end to do for you. Everything's set up for you to do it, so just try one more time. Otherwise, if you need to, you can send it to me real quick as well. But you can try to share one more time and we'll see.
Does this work?
All we're getting right now, it says Matt Haberkamp has started sharing screen or screen sharing on this end of it.
All right, let me put a. Sorry about that, guys.
We're all good. This is our first time trying it out too, so we're working on it. We'll figure it out. You're gonna send it over my way. You're just gonna try it again.
Here, I'll send it to you.
Catch it.
Let me know when you get that email.
Sometimes my email's a little bit slow too. The Iowa State emails are not always the best. Oh, all right, we're all good to go.
Note on the recording, just skip the first 10 minutes. Yeah, so I was getting into my draft profile. I'm 6'4". I would have the length and power to be a DN, but I don't catch passes as well. So that's why I work in the front office. I'll get into a little bit of how I got here, but I took the community college route before I went to Iowa State. So I definitely know what it's like to put in the grind of a community college, but I probably don't have a long career because I've already spent the time going to school. Like Soren said, I went to Iowa State University, and obviously everybody knows who Matt Campbell is, but they don't actually know where Iowa State is, or that it actually exists, or that we have a football program, or that students do anything. And I'll get into it a little bit later, but I didn't have sports experience, and I didn't have a sports major. I wasn't a part of a sports business club. I didn't have any networking connections. So what you guys are already doing here tonight is by far more experience than I had, and I've made it so certainly you can too. And I probably wouldn't have taken a chance on me at the time, but obviously I was given an opportunity, and it's worked out this far. So like we said, I'm the digital platforms manager for the Seattle Seahawks. Went to Iowa State. Uh, I'm married to my best friend for almost 2 years now. I'm a design thinker, and so what that involves of not just being a graphic designer, but I think that design is how something impacts us, and design is around us all the time. It's not just what it looks like, but how it impacts us, and so how that translates to a football team, I'll get into a little bit more. But I believe that having that impact on our daily lives is really important, and that's why design is important, everywhere. But for fans to connect to a team is obviously really important to me and a passion of mine. I love sports. I love watching sports. I love talking sports. I love attending games. I try to make it back to Iowa State once a year to catch a football game if I can, if it lines up with what our football schedule is. I love socks. I have a socks Instagram account that I post socks I wear every day, and I love ice cream. So just a little bit of a background on me. How I got here, I had a high school teacher who told me I should take an arts class because she saw something in me from that point. And I got really involved with art, which led me to, not really knowing what I wanted to do, but knowing that I wanted to be in that field. So I took that community college route first, where I ended up working as a webmaster, running the website for the student newspaper at Nyack, which is a community college in northern Iowa. After graduating from Nyack, I decided to attend Iowa State and enter the design program. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, but for those who don't, you have to enter a core program. And already being 2 years into college and now having to kind of start over, entering what would have been or what was a 4-year program was kind of a big step back and realization that if I want to do this, I have to kind of go all in and make sure that I'm going to be successful at it. But was, greatly appreciated that I got accepted and graduated with my degree. While I was in school, I was a front-end web developer for the Iowa Department of Transportation. So when I say I didn't have experience, I wasn't freelancing for the athletics department, I didn't have internships with the athletics department. And I was working on construction and traffic website updates. But what that internship did give me is a ton of experience in the field that I wanted to be in. So I always thought maybe working in sports would be cool. And I was a student manager when I was in high school for different teams, but I never thought that I'd be sitting here today as a manager in the professional football league. So I got a lot of experience at that internship, and I'll get into a little bit, but I think getting valuable experience in any internship is going to take you a lot farther than none. I studied abroad the fall semester. I decided to skip the football season, studied abroad in Rome, Italy as a part of the design program. I ended up graduating in May and moved home for 3 months and was unemployed. So when I said I didn't have a lot of experience in sports, again, I didn't have that experience. I went home and was unemployed. So it just goes to show that not everybody's going to have that opportunity right after school. Don't be afraid that you're the only one, because you're not. After 417 job applications and a number of interviews, I finally decided between an internship and taking a full-time job at a design agency in Minneapolis. But I just couldn't believe what I would think back on, even at this point in my life, and say I could have worked in the NFL, even if it was for 1 year as an intern, and turn that down. So I decided to take that internship. I was an intern for 8 months with the Green Bay Packers, working on digital user experience and on our mobile app and our website. 8 months later, I was promoted to full-time as a coordinator. And then for the last year, I've been the digital platforms manager for the Seattle Seahawks. So doing the same thing on our digital properties, but just continuing to kind of elevate. So what I do now, I oversee our owned and operating digital platforms. So what that entails is our team website, mobile app, stadium website, we have a theater at the stadium. And then that also involves any digital experiences or new platforms that we would add in the future. And when people think of websites and things, and obviously they're important. We work in a digital age, but I get to build experiences and provide content to millions of fans across the world. We have over 9 million viewers to our website every year. We have nearly 500,000 mobile app users on a yearly basis. We provided over 200 million advertising impressions for our corporate partners. So while websites are important, we're really providing the information that the club wants to put out to those fans: how to attend games, how to consume content like highlights or written stories, provide information on the community impact that we're having. So I get to help manage all of that and develop cool, fun, new experiences along the way. A couple visuals to kind of walk you through. Obviously, I was working on Packers.com before while I was in Green Bay, and currently working on Seahawks.com. While I was in Green Bay, I got to work on a couple cool projects. The Packers celebrated the 100th season while I was there, getting to do cool things like a mobile passport program where fans use their mobile app to scan in at locations during training camp to win prizes and participate in activities. Building a microsite that celebrated 100 years of history of our entire roster, stadiums we played at, 100 specific moments that stood out from the 100 years. So getting to work on cool projects like this is what I get to do every day. And then when it comes to the mobile app, I get to build things like this with AR games and face paint filters, building commemorative tickets. So when a fan scans in their mobile ticket on our mobile app, they can be provided with a keepsake to remember that game, since we're not doing physical tickets anymore. So these are just some of the things that I've worked on over the past year. So these are the things that I don't do now. I don't get to group text with Russell and BK all the time talking about what we're going to do after the game. And I'm sure a lot of you, obviously being interested in the sports world, you're familiar with what it's going to take to work in sports. But just to be clear, I don't get to work 9 to 5. My department runs around the football schedule, so we're always working games, whether that's home or away. We're always working extra events like the draft or the combine or training camp. It's not a typical 9 to 5, but it's also what makes it the most fun, is that it's not just 9 to 5. We don't get to hang out in the locker room. I think a lot of times, coming from working in internships in college, you're getting to be more around athletes because you're the same age. There's more access. There's more willingness between coaches and marketing staffs to have that happen often. It's just not the way that it works in professional sports. It does at some teams and not at others, but it is a business for them. They try to keep the distractions to a minimal, and it is our job to make a profit for an ownership group to provide experiences for our fans. So there's tons of things that are interconnecting, but it's definitely a different step up from maybe what some athletics experiences are at the college level. I don't get to call plays as much as fans would like us who are watching social channels would want us to relay those things. We're not going to do that, but feel free to keep tweeting at us and we'll read them. So what's it like to work in sports? I've listed here a number of departments that are obviously unique to football, but anybody can work in sports. It doesn't matter if you want to be a part of the football side of things, or you're like me and have a design degree and would consider yourself kind of a design and technology nerd. Like, you can do anything for a professional sports team. A lot of times you only think of the things that are at the facilities or with the team, but we have community engagement, we have public relations, we have legal, we have business intelligence and analytics. There's a lot of things that go into a business side of a football team or a professional sports team than just what happens on game day. So obviously that's why you're here. You're trying to learn about it, you're trying to ask those questions, but you're just making sure that if you want to do something, you can do it wherever you are for any field, but you can do any of these types of jobs for a sports franchise. It gets into a game week. Like I said, my department kind of follows the football team's schedule. So we're covering practices, covering press conferences, getting to stream those live. So we follow that, but we're also following our project schedule, getting to work on those projects that I kind of detailed a little bit earlier. So um, it's a lot of business meetings. It's a lot of communication with developers or designers or marketing communications about the things that we're doing, but we're also working towards game day. So it's a lot of busy work between covering football and covering our own projects that we're trying to get done for the game, flipping the game, flipping assets on the website and mobile app over for the new week with new opponent graphics, new timelines, things like that. But it all culminates on game day when we get to go to the stadium and work there. During the game, I'm posting highlights, switching things out on the website and mobile app as the game progresses so that fans might not know that those things are changing, but I'm providing them those experiences and that information when they want to go look for it. So it might not be the most glamorous thing, but we are constantly working, all day on game day. But that's the best part of working in sports, right? Is to getting to game day and working those days. And to give a little bit of background, working in sports during this pandemic, I mentioned it earlier to Sona, but my wife and I just relocated from Green Bay to Seattle in the last month. So while I have been working for the Seahawks, we've been living in Wisconsin still and having to work for a new team and then learn completely new people to work with and new locations of where things are, but be in a completely different state. It's obviously been an experience that I never thought I would have. There's so much about sports as being in the stadium, around the people, experiencing the event, and that didn't happen this year for a lot of teams. And every day we were constantly thinking about what our plans were going to be if we did have fans, we had a limited number of fans, and how the stadium is going to react and how we were going to articulate that information out to our fans. So it just was this continuous process. And my job specifically got put a lot of emphasis on because we couldn't have fans in the stands. So a lot of those eyeballs are going to our digital properties. So we were constantly trying to make up for in-stadium activations and partner activations that didn't get viewed during the stadium, that we had to make up through our website and our mobile app. So that was a great experience for me to kind of prove that our platforms can handle that increased viewership, can handle those increased projects and new ideas that we needed to. So I think it opened up a lot of avenues for organizations that weren't previously doing them because they didn't have to. Things will go back to normal and we'll have fans in stands and we'll have those experiences back for our fans. But there's always going to be a number of fans that'll be viewing our digital properties, international fans that don't come to games. For instance, a big viewership of ours, specifically being so close to Canada. So it definitely was a learning curve. It's been a process for everybody involved, but we'll definitely learn from aspects of the past year. So this is kind of the playbook that I would present to you guys. If you can take screenshots and make sure to write this stuff down afterwards. I'm sure some of these you might know ahead of time, but Teamwork Online was the place that I found my job, both my internship and my current role. They're going to post jobs on there for everything involved, from digital to social to finance to sometimes coaches to team chefs. Everything will be posted on there. You can create a profile and submit applications right through there, upload your resume, everything there. So that'd be my main place to check. I did apply for originally, and I'm not sure how active it is for college opportunities, but this NCAA market is another one that's more geared towards college specific careers. I'd subscribe to the Front Office Sports newsletter. It's a really great newsletter that touches more on the business side of everything. And we're obviously all familiar with following the teams that we're interested in, but trying to get more into the business side. They do a great job of just highlighting different things daily throughout the industry, whether it's professional sports or college sports, and tons of different topics. I mentioned a few Twitter handles that I would follow. just to kind of get those things back in your timeline again, talking about sports business, but then have those jobs right in line with the rest of your social channels. Obviously, LinkedIn or Indeed profiles are helpful, but go to team profiles that you're interested in, even if you maybe never think that you'll work for them, but go follow them, see what they're posting, see what jobs they're talking about, see what their impact in the community is, and be more insightful on the business side of it, not just the team aspect of it. And again, if you're interested in moving to Seattle, for instance, come look at our team websites, because we're also posting our job opportunities there. So be active on those, trying to catch on when they're posted. A lot of times our fiscal years will start in April, so kind of right around this time, the next month or 2 months, we'll be posting jobs is a good timeline. But jobs are going to pop up all the time. So don't be afraid to look in the fall if you're an underclassman and you're not ready for a full-time job yet. But the team websites are obviously one to follow as well. So here's just kind of my all-pro advice, I guess. Teams and fans are everywhere. We kind of understand that when you're a fan, but being on the business side, we have 32 teams in one league that are across the country that are all going to have different experiences. And those fans are also everywhere. Just because our team is located in Seattle doesn't mean we only have fans there. So we're trying to think outside of, just your local market, that we want fans in the state of Iowa to be fans of the Seattle Seahawks. And if that's what this talk does, then great. I'll take your fandom and run with it. But just remember that teams and fans are everywhere, and then is a global brand. It's a global event every time those things are happening. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to think through what your specific fields might be, because you don't have to just settle for a big market. You can go to a small market. You can work for a college team. I'll speak on it a little bit, but taking an internship definitely is good enough. I think there's a stigma, obviously, of don't take an internship after you graduate, because you don't want to be an intern. You graduated college, you want to have your full-time job and start making your money and making your impact on the industry. But a lot of times, we're looking for post-grad interns because we need someone with the flexibility of what internships, the time commitment they take. But there's not that many full-time entry-level positions that are opening. But we'll rotate through, dozens of interns every year for the different departments. So don't be afraid to take an internship. It's definitely not something that I was looking for straight out of school, especially working for a design agency. And I didn't want an internship. I had done that. So definitely that'd be a big piece of advice, is don't get so hung up on knowing that you want to have a job. An internship is a job. It's just a different label, but you'll get out what you put in. We rely on our interns to do tons of work. And at the end, if you're not hired on full time, or if you choose to go to another team, you'll have a resume and a folder of experience that you can never, turn down or you'll have above the next person. So it's definitely worth it to take an internship. A couple personal pieces of advice: work hard and ask questions. Nobody's ever going to knock you for how hard you work, how much time commitment you put into something, and ask questions. You're not going to know everything as about a topic or about a certain area of the business or about the team or about the location or the city you're in. So make sure you ask those questions. If you want to ask, about somebody else's area, go for it, because the more that you know, the more that they know about what you know. Sharing that knowledge is obviously really important. So work hard and ask questions are two big pieces. Have empathy for your teammates and your fans. Like I said, not everybody's going to know what you know, and you're not going to know what everybody else knows. So having that empathy of somebody might have been at a team for 30 years and they're going to know everything. And especially with your fans, not all fans are created equal. Some get to go to games and some sit in suites, and some fans never get to attend a game, but they'll watch every highlight that they can. They'll read every story that they can. Not everybody can afford to buy merch from the pro shop. So just having that empathy and understand that we have a variety of fans that are avid about the Seattle Seahawks or about that team, and make sure that you step into their shoes for a minute and take that step back and realize how cool it is that they get to be a fan of their favorite team, and you're providing experiences for them, whether it's digital or community engagement or you're a lawyer for the team, whatever those things are. They're a fan of the organization, and that is you at the end of the day. And most importantly, have fun. It's still a game at the end of the day. You get to go to stadiums full of 80,000 people. You get to celebrate milestones like 100 years of football. And ultimately, it's the reason that we all want to work in sports, is that at a young age, we were maybe involved in sports and we found it fun because it was a game to us. It's still a business. There's business things that happen, choices that are made, and there is money involved. But every day that you're working, knowing that at the end of the week, there's a game that you get to bring enjoyment to a fan for a few hours, and that is their outlet from work, or that is their thing that they love for that Sunday, and they get to use your hard work that you put into the week is obviously the big payoff. So I think that's all I have. I'll definitely answer any questions, open for discussions that you guys might have about what I do, or about specific departments or things that I would know from other teams. Happy to answer anything.
Perfect. Yeah, so that was really good, Matt. Thank you. So I'll just kind of list through, and then you guys, if you have any questions or come up with anything off the questions we have already, just put them in the Q&A and I'll read them off for you guys. But I think the big one right off the bat, like, you obviously you're into sports, you enjoy sports, like we all do. We grew up around sports. But what really interested you about the opportunity with the Packers originally, and why did you take that, go down that route?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know if I could look back 5 years from that moment and said, what if I don't take this internship? I didn't have a sports business club. I didn't have networking. I didn't have those things. But when I was a sophomore, I had seen in a presentation the Teamwork Online site. I always kept it in my back pocket. I never thought that a design student, a graphic designer, would work for a sports industry, for a club. So it definitely was a dream that I just never thought would happen. Once more jobs started opening up in the web and design space for my specific, career move, I just couldn't turn it down. Even though it was an internship, even though I was older, I had spent 6 years in school. How do you turn down an opportunity? So that's what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to take an internship, because the experience that I even just got out of that, I went on to apply for a couple other jobs after my internship, but ultimately stayed with the Packers. So there's a tremendous value in taking that internship. And obviously being in the sports world for those first couple of years has led me to knowing that the sports industry needs designers. They need user experience people to relate to their fans and provide products. So it turned from a dream into this is a requirement out of the sports world that I saw a void, and I'm trying to fill that with our advancement of our digital properties.
Perfect. Another one, what do you find to be the most rewarding part of your career, either with the Packers or with the Seahawks? What have you found just to be the best part, and what makes you the happiest to go in the morning that you going?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's definitely the times, like I said, it's not 9 to 5, but the most rewarding really is a game day, or it's a day at training camp when you have thousands of fans coming, and you realize that it's not just an office job anymore, that what you're working towards is the game on Sunday or whatever day it is. But you're getting to see those fans come and use whatever you've worked on, or getting them to experience what you are working for and towards. We're all here to win championships, but we're here to provide a fandom and a community involvement that not every business gets to have. And so people are looking towards our team, but when I get to have an impact on how somebody uses the mobile ticket when they enter the stadium, if that works, I did that. If it breaks, I also did that. So we have to own both ways, but it is extremely rewarding to see your fans get to experience the things that you're working on, and know that in the end it's going to be a success, even if you lose in the game.
That's really good. Roger had in here in the question Q&A. You already kind of talked about why you went into sports, or like why the decision was to switch out of the Iowa. Did you say you worked with the Iowa DOT? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I did.
So kind of that the switch is really different. But what made you choose pro football, and like and I'll kind of tie that into a second question, I guess. Like, would you like switch sports in the future, or have you found like a home, do you think, in the industry of football?
Yeah, I mean, football is definitely the best sport, just to watch in general. But to work, I really love the schedule of having your busy season in the fall, having one game a week. I did interview and got pretty far in a job in the NBA and decided to turn it down. But I think for now I'm pretty involved with football. I know a lot of other digital platforms managers through different conferences and summits and whatnot. And I think that there's a big need. We have millions of fans, like I said, across the world, that they're looking for those digital experiences. So for me personally, I don't see anytime soon turning down football. Maybe that day will come and we'll get into something else. But for right now, I've always loved football to watch, but it's even more special to work in.
I agree. I mean, when I worked for the Twins, it was weird having like game days in the middle of the week. I think it's kind of fun working for that one big event at the end of the week. I think that's a lot of value. There's a lot of building to it. What do you think? Okay, you kind of covered that one. What do you think? Obviously, you have a lot of different projects you've worked on with the Packers and the Seahawks. What do you think your biggest one was with the Packers, and what do you think your biggest projects and most important project has been so far with the Seahawks? Like one for each. What do you think is your favorite or most important?
Yeah, the biggest one with the Packers by far is what we did for the 100 season. We built the website. I showed a quick screenshot there during the presentation, but that website went on to win an award at a conference I presented at in Las Vegas. But we got to provide a digital history book to our fans in one spot, and to be able to celebrate those 100 moments and the stories over 100 years was it's something that had been done obviously for years, but not in one spot. So to be able to do that. But I think generally with the 100th birthday celebration, there were so many things that happened for the team and for the organization that I was a part of, like the mobile passport program that we ran, where fans took our mobile app, scanned in to run the 40-yard dash, for instance. So a lot of things that I had an impact on, but just having that special time, being the oldest team in football, having such attention on you for that year. And with the Seahawks, I think it's been a bit of an evolving platform, but our mobile app has really taken steps forward to be more personalized. I shared a screenshot, but we're taking fan data from scanning a ticket and giving you a personalized keepsake that you can download or keep in our mobile app, forever. So whether it's uploading a photo of you and your friend that attended the game, or a photo that we provide of an action shot from the game, personalizing the experiences on our mobile app is definitely part of our roadmap continuing forward. And, providing that unique experience to our set of fans, because not every NFL team is doing what we're doing in that space, and obviously in other spaces as well, but providing those, unique, very deep thought out experiences is something that I get to work on every day. And that's obviously why I'm here.
Yeah, I agree. I think that keepsake thing is really cool. And the digital tickets is becoming such a big thing in any sort of market that uses ticketing. So I think it's really cool that that's kind of a new idea of doing stuff, because I still have all my tickets from my Mac in a jar. No. So I think it's a cool new way to do it, to make sure that people are still getting something instead of just one little like email on their phone and then it's gone. So I think it's really kind of a cool project. You kind of talked about COVID. What do you see? Obviously, you're talking about that it's expanded your fans. Do you think that's kind of like for the usage? Do you think that's kind of the biggest and one of the things that will carry after COVID? It's kind of the use of mobile platforms and the kind of expanded fan base and stuff like that. Do you see that as kind of the future of how we're going now with how you fix that?
Yeah, I think it's a little hard. So many things, this year, just with the digital platform specifically, we just had to make up for the fact that we didn't have fans. We had to make up things for our in-stadium activations, whether it was the events pregame or content that would play on the video boards, and then obviously things for our corporate partners. We had to make up for. So I wouldn't say a lot of it was trying to create new, but about mid-season we got to start getting more into let's create new things and provide those things on game day or not on game day. I think what it opened up to a lot of people's eyes, especially ownership groups, was we've always had digital platforms, for the last couple decades, but they weren't being utilized maybe as well as they could have been. And so we won't see it diminish, obviously, in the things that we're doing on a game day in the stadium, and we're not going to see it diminish, in our fans attending once those stadiums are full. But having another outlet for them to come follow, having an outlet for them to come see a second screen experience where, a different host is watching the game, mega casts that aren't actually providing games, but they're providing other content that we're wanting to. So it's just going to be a continuous big variety of things. It's not really a one-to-one replacement or anything, but nobody's going to not want to go to a game, right? But we just have to keep providing experiences and information and engagement for those fans who are not attending the game. And I think there just was a big emphasis on those pieces, obviously, from departments and those who didn't see that regularly, where personally I did. We're marketing to millions of fans, but we're not always focused on the in-stadium stuff. We're focused on the whole.
Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously you don't work for the NFL and you work for a single team, but you had mentioned that Canada being a big fan base now that we're so close, or Mexico. Do you personally think that there's a chance that the NFL would actually consider expanding into one of those markets that has a lot more potential? I mean, there's always a talk of Jacksonville going over to the United Kingdom. I don't know if that one would work as well, but I mean, it's kind of interesting with all the data you've probably seen for you're in Seattle, if that's something that you actually foreseeably see them doing.
Yeah, I don't want this recording to get posted somewhere and Matt Haberkamp says that there's a team somewhere, because that would be bad. But I don't know. It's a really interesting concept. There's nothing kind of preventing someone from having a team here in North America. But when you talk about going overseas, obviously travel logistics and things like that become a bigger topic. But there's millions of fans worldwide that are fans of a specific club. Obviously a lot of the rotating teams that go through the UK, London games are a fan of football and they have their teams. But working for the Packers, having a large German following, obviously being close to Canada, having a large Canadian audiences, and people do come down and experience games. So it's not just that they live internationally and never consume the game, but I don't know if expansion-wise we're looking at an international team yet, but it wouldn't surprise me in our lifetimes if there are multiple teams in other countries.
I can agree with that. I have one from the Q&A here. Let me just pull it back up. I had it written down. How have you, during your job, been able to represent players and presenting them in a positive image to fans when there's negative media going around? And how do you have a role in presenting your team in the best light possible, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the role of the organization, is to represent us and our players. Whether that's our players' voices for a specific initiative, whether that's talking somebody up who might not be getting Pro Bowl votes, talking about the impact that we're having in the community, talking about the impact that the community, events that we're not necessarily part of, but we want to promote. That's our job. So through posted content, covering events with social teams or editorial or video staff, and then hosting all those things on our platform. So it's a collective group. Our job is to obviously cover a football team, but our job is also to cover an organization that believes that winning championships is important, but that we're also having impact in the community, having an impact in the technology field or across the NFL. So, coming from the organization side compared to, a news outlet or someone else, our job is to represent us, our players, in the best light. But it's obviously a challenge. We can't always shy away from something, in the news, but our job is to represent the players in our club in the best light that we can.
Perfect. This one is a little bit closer to just Iowa State in general. You've talked about it a little bit over the whole interview, but or the presentation. But how do you feel? What items and skills and different stuff do you think Iowa State provided you, and how have you been able to take those into the world? Actually be able to use them in the sports industry or just kind of life in general, and kind of those skills that you got here as a cyclone.
Yeah, what's really interesting is I kind of feel like Iowa State gets a bad rep because nobody knows, who we are. Outside of the last few years of being good at football and the few years when I was in school being good at basketball, Iowa State's kind of a nobody, it feels like. And I started at the Packers. There were four of us from Iowa State, over a span of 15 years. But we were all, Cyclones, and we all got to experience what you guys are all experiencing now. And what you guys get to bring with you post graduation is an amazing experience. Obviously, we all have a work ethic that develops from being in the Midwest and keep going through the programs that you guys are going through. But Iowa State, I don't know a lot about obviously what you guys are doing in the sports business club. Obviously, there's not a sports business management uh, career yet or a major that you guys can pursue, but just the education that you're getting is obviously really powerful, and being able to apply that outside. I think one of the biggest things that I've been able to do is kind of prove that my resume and my college education from Iowa State is one that you should be looking for at a professional level. I think that obviously engineering gets the marks and agriculture gets the marks, but when we're talking about design, yeah, we're a really good design school, but that doesn't mean a whole lot in the NFL. So but being able to come and say I'm an Iowa State grad has brought a lot of weight. I've wanted to continue to bring a lot of weight because I'm proving what I can. I didn't have a lot of experiences in school, like I said, that prepared me for working in the league. But just the overall education and the things that you're doing. It's not like I was finding ways to bring sports into my design projects. I was really focused on just doing what the assignments were, but all those experiences are going to add up. And I guess just be more proud than anything that you are going to a great university, that you have the education, the background, and the experiences to bring you into a professional field that might not get a lot of credit for being a big school, but you are getting top education, and go prove that Iowa State should be on the map somewhere.
I just have two more questions. We'll see if anyone else wants to send any in between them. But I think the one I'm curious, what drove you to Seattle, and like why? I'm a Packers fan, so obviously I'm going to be a little biased. But what drove you to like leave? I mean, one great organization and go to another great organization in such an early time in your career, where some people want to try and stay with the job. I know our generation is a little bit more not as brand loyal, I guess, or loyal to one place and ready to move. But what drove you in such a kind of early part of your career to want to make a change?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I never thought I worked for the Green Bay Packers. I grew up in Northern Iowa, so I was not a big NFL guy. And to be honest, I didn't even like the Cyclones, so we don't have to talk about that other team that I was a fan of earlier on. But working for the Packers was an experience I'll never forget. I just was at a point where I thought I could be doing more. A couple months, actually right before I started interviewing for this position, my wife and I sat down and we said, what are the NFL teams in those cities that we would move to? And Seattle was the top of the list. And the job happened to come open. I didn't necessarily think that I was ready to take the step up to being a platforms manager, but obviously they valued where my thoughts were going and what we can start to build here. It was a big risk. My wife and her family are from Green Bay. She grew up a big Packers fan, so our family will always have some sort of fandom there. But it just felt like a good jump, and I can always go back if there's openings, but there are just not that many jobs in sports. There are 32 of me. There are 32 head athletic trainers. There are 32 head legal analysts. There are 32 whatever you want to call it. So just taking your opportunity when you have it. But that doesn't mean I wasn't scared or nervous to jump out to Seattle. Finally getting out here, it feels like I finally worked for the Seahawks. So that's obviously a big step forward. But don't be afraid to jump around either. I started as an intern, and out of a class of about 30 interns with the Packers, everyone went on to get jobs the year after, full-time jobs, whether that was for teams or news outlets or college bowl games or stadium venues. So people are always changing roles, but just having the name on your resume definitely takes you, pretty far.
This last, we'll call it, I guess, last serious question ties into that. Was it kind of weird? I mean, this is the only time in your career that you'll like actually be able to work in a different city than where you're actually supposed to be located. Was it kind of weird working in Green Bay with Seattle, especially? I mean, obviously not everyone in Green Bay is going to know you're working for the Seahawks. But I mean, that is kind of a rival for the Packers and stuff like that. But was it kind of strange being around your old job in a way while also starting a new path in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our house was 8 minutes away from the stadium, so we, you go on a drive and you can see it. And Green Bay is such a special place. Obviously, Lambeau Field being a destination for so many football fans, but like everybody, we had to adapt. Working on a different time zone, being able to watch games or not watch games because they weren't on TV in Wisconsin. But definitely an experience I never thought I would have. Obviously, being able to work remotely, starting right at the beginning of things shutting down, I got really fortunate, really lucky and very fortunate that I was able to start on time and still be employed after I decided to leave my past position. There's a lot of good things about technology, and there's a lot of bad things of sitting on Zoom calls, all day and night and whatnot. But yeah, never an experience I thought I'd have, not an experience I'd love to have again, but just the way that worked out this year, and obviously hopefully we'll be back in stadiums soon and go forward with that way.
I agree, and we're hoping for Cyclone football next year. It's going to be an exciting time, hopefully, for a really good program that we have going. I mean, so it doesn't look like we have any more questions. I think the big one is, do you have any news on Russell Wilson? Because I've heard a couple of first round picks is what's going to be needed to move him around. So
I have no news on Russell Wilson. He didn't. I'm teammates with him, but he didn't tell me what he wants to do. So.
Oh, that's a bummer. But perfect. Thank you, Matt. That's all we got. As I said for you guys, we will be doing our next meeting in 2 weeks. I'll send out more information for that. But thanks again, Matt. That was a really great meeting. We'll see you guys all later. Thank you, guys.